Hello, friends, and welcome to The Architecture Enthusiast. The Derzhprom Building in Kharkiv, Ukraine, designed by Samuil Kravets, Sergey Serafimov, and Mark Felger, and completed in 1928, stands as a monumental example of Constructivist architecture and a symbol of the industrialization efforts during the early Soviet era. Located in the heart of Freedom Square, one of Europe's largest public squares, the Derzhprom is a bold statement of modernist ambition and technological progress in Ukraine, reflecting the rapid industrialization of the region under Soviet rule. It is not just an architectural achievement, but a symbol of the Soviet state's influence on Ukraine, which was at that time part of the USSR. As you approach the Derzhprom Building, its vast scale and geometric massing immediately capture your attention. Rising 12 stories and covering a significant portion of Freedom Square, the building's interconnected volumes create a dynamic visual experience. These stacked, cubist forms evoke a sense of movement and industrial energy, perfectly aligned with the constructivist principles that aim to celebrate industry and functionality. The building's bold, utilitarian design reflects Ukraine's role as a hub of Soviet industrialization, especially in the 1920s and 1930s, when Kharkiv was a thriving industrial center. Constructed primarily of reinforced concrete, the Derzhprom was one of the first buildings of its size in Europe to use this material, showcasing the power of modern engineering. The building's minimalist facade, devoid of ornamentation, emphasizes function over decoration. Its smooth, repetitive lines and endless rows of windows reinforce the idea of mass production and collective labor. The clean lines and staggered blocks are carefully arranged to create both depth and rhythm, reflecting the industrial ideals that were driving Ukraine's transformation into a Soviet industrial powerhouse. One of the most striking features of the building is its glass and steel bridges that connect various sections of the complex, creating suspended walkways high above the ground. These bridges reflect the futuristic vision of the era and emphasize the interconnectedness of the factory-like spaces within. The open areas between the building's blocks allow light to penetrate the deep interior, a rarity in massive industrial buildings at the time. This design showcases a sense of efficiency and transparency, key to the ideology of collective productivity that the building was meant to represent in Soviet Ukraine. Inside, the building is just as ambitious as the exterior. Open-plan offices, vast atriums, and functional circulation spaces define the interior design, prioritizing productivity and efficiency. The large windows provide ample natural light, which contrasts with the heavy exterior mass of the structure. These vast, communal workspaces embody the ideals of a collective, centralized workforce in Soviet Ukraine, where architecture was used not only for functionality but also to shape social behavior. When the Derzhprom was completed in 1928, it was the largest building in Europe and was hailed as a pioneering achievement in modern architecture. In Ukraine, it became a symbol of the rapid industrialization and modernization efforts driven by Soviet influence. The architectural community in the Soviet Union praised the building for its bold use of modern materials and innovative design, which perfectly encapsulated the goals of Soviet industrial progress. It became a centerpiece of Kharkiv's transformation into a major industrial and intellectual hub within Soviet Ukraine. However, reactions to the building's stark, mechanistic design were mixed. While many celebrated its embodiment of constructivist principles, others criticized it as cold and impersonal, especially in comparison to the more human-scaled, decorative architecture of the past. Nevertheless, the Derzhprom's minimalist aesthetic, with its unadorned concrete and emphasis on functionality, made it an enduring symbol of Soviet-era Ukraine's industrial transformation. Today, the Derzhprom Building is recognized as a UNESCO World Heritage Site and stands as a proud architectural landmark in Ukraine. It remains a symbol of the early Soviet period in Ukraine's history, a time when architecture, industry, and politics were inextricably linked. Walking through and around the building, you can still feel the sense of ambition and optimism that it was meant to evoke. A vision of a new, industrialized Ukraine, where architecture mirrored the values of collective progress and technological advancement.